And here we go. So it's yet another dry version of the Arabia. And well, civilizations stay the same. And how are we with the pockets and mirrors and whatnot? So red, blue, yellow are at the top. They have pocket of right now of Hans, so the same as last game. And for the opponents, they have Mayans in the pocket. Well, that's different. So I can imagine Mayans being better on the flank if they are being slunk into fast Imperial and whatnot. As in that case they are pretty powerful, but well, in the pocket they could be playing something as well, maybe even slinging, but not really sure. It's usually better when they are the slung ones. And wreak havoc with the fast Imperial in there. Let's see if maybe even slinging is going to be coming into play, because not really often, or rather, it's not often that you see it as assuredly on Arabia, usually on other maps like Arena, of course. But on Arabia, you might be seeing a lot of diverse strategies and different strategies, and it's especially great if you are having Mongols in the pocket, but yep, that's not going to be happening on this map. This is kind of unfortunate spawn position for Nike, being so close to the wall, which basically means that all his resources are going to be in the forefront, so he is going to be quite open to raid in, and that's of course often a problem, and you can see that it's really not ideal. The one gold on the right is considered reasonably safe because it's towards his pocket 0L, but oh, well, this is like impossible to wall for him. That would be costing him like a ton of wood, but he will be probably have to invest into that, because if he doesn't, he's just going to be wide open, and his main gold is going to be quite problematic, as his second golds and third golds on the left are nice, having all that much gold in his base, but yet again quite hard for him to wall. Those two wolfies just waiting for the villager to go here, and really this is not a good spawn for SlayeR Nike at all, and he's going to be having pretty tough game, especially against a strong player like Sniper, who is already luring one of the boars in next to the villager. So far I don't see any kind of attempts at stealing on the minimap. Seems like that everybody's just playing it nicely in here, and careful about the Willy though. Yeah, just at the last moment hiding him in, but this is going to be a pretty good candidate for raiding in the early stage of the game if somebody discovers him in there. Yellow just now discovering that he's also having pretty decent amount of gold behind his base together with the hunt. Pretty good position for actually a mill, because if he mills the berries, he's not going to be having even to somehow micro all those deer next to the town center or whatever, as they are going to be pretty close, and this is pretty good spawn for him, and I think that the yellow player will be quite happy about what he's seen so far. In the forefront it's going to be yet again quite hard for him to wall, but since I'm expecting that he should be the one putting pressure on his opponent Nike rather than the other way around, Sniper is Mongol, so I would be expecting a bit of scout cavalry raid in. That's usually what happens from the Mongols in there before they go for the shenanigans in the Imperial Age and Mangudais, and well, this is nice. This is nice from Escobar. He could have waited and actually closed all three of them in there. That would have helped him quite nicely, but that was really nicely played. Just hiding behind there, behind the new building, and this is going to be absolutely unassailable goal. Nicely played. Nicely played. Otherwise this map is kinda okay. Save gold at the back next to the wall. That's pretty much okay. And in the forefront, really, this is one of the easier parts of the map for him to wall. He can use this gold as part of the wall, which is probably going to happen. And then it's interesting building the house in here. That is telling you that he's going for the long wall. I was thinking that maybe he'll be going for the shorter one, using the mill, and this way would have been kinda better, I think. But he maybe didn't want to actually give up the hill, as he thinks that's going to be important. And since it is one elevation above the other hill in here, it might not be really the bad choice, as he could be making use of that sooner rather than later. So, Yellow has just discovered where Nike is. It's going to be right now pursued by the scout. Yeah, but just for a moment, as Nike is recognizing that he needs to scout around a bit as well. And we are also seeing that purple in the middle is right now going to be discovering the other pocket. But is he going to be finding something to steal? Probably not, as already both boars are killed. And you can see there's a bit of a fun for Eru to be had with the deer. Unfortunately not having all that much luck. as the deer is not really listening in here. So she has just returned back to home. Or he. Because of the antlers, obviously. That's a he. And he's just really not listening at all. So it seems like that Eru is going to be giving up on that. And maybe just having a bit of fun with the eagle. But no, not really. Just letting eagle fly by. And that means that Zirael is going to be looking at the base of red and seeing that he is having, wow, pretty safe gold. Well, this is going to be very easy for him to defend due to the cliff. A few palisade walls either here or just plain here. And yeah, this is going to be very easy for him overall. So Sniper is going to be the first one to advance into the next age, as we see a bit of shenanigans with Thrush on the right side happening. And well, finishing with the ball at the bottom as well. And all the both of these players trying to make use of the hill in here, but Pedro should be really winning because of the Eagle Warrior in here on top. But he needs to play this correctly because so far he has lost one of the militias, but two are already dead. And with the help from Eru, yep, goodbye Thrush from green player, and unfortunately he found himself in a pretty tough spot, and a spot that, well, was just too hard for him to handle. But still, he at least slowed down the Thrush from his opponent, which means that Pedro is having left just one militia at full health though, together with the Eagle Warrior with pretty decent health, and that's still pretty good potential for Raiden on the gold at the bottom, as that could be something that he will be interested in doing, maybe even on the food source in here, but not really, because you can see that Escobar is paying attention and just building a palisade wall to protect himself in. In the meantime, on the left side there is also Thrush from Reich. I've been noticing some kind of heal dots in there, but it's probably not going to matter all that much. He has been able to push the yellow player off the gold, but since there are two safe gold mines at the back, yeah, Sniper won't mind all that much, so it's just a question of time before he is ready to deal with his opponent, going for archers and skirmishers as well. Whereas in the base of SlayeR Nike, oh well, he has actually been able to corner the scout, but unfortunately for him, not really ideally, as he has just lost one of the villages, but otherwise the walling is doing, or rather going quite well, but at the same time it has to be said that it's costing him a ton of wood. A real ton of wood, which might be coming back to bite him a bit later into the game. As you can see, he's not really doing all that much in here, probably hoping that he can jump into castle. Let's switch into Nike. Yeah, he's at 800 foot right about now. So that's the strategy for the knights in the castle age, and maybe even some cavalry archers, you'll see. In the meantime, his rush is going to be coming to an end due to the defense from the yellow player, who is playing Mongol, and he is going to go for something, or rather for the other variant, and that's not scout cavalry rushing, but rather for the archers. Alright, so that's a bit different. That's a bit different than what I predicted at the start of the game, and let's see if it's going to be working for him overall. I'm kind of thinking that he doesn't need to worry about that all that much, as obviously it's right now not going to be under any kind of serious pressure. But yeah, yellow, be careful. Even employing the villagers in here, as he needs to get rid of this pesky guy, as he is having quite high pierce armor, of course, for this stage of the game, for the very low attack of the archer and the skirmisher, and well, it is definitely paying off, as he has been able to kill quite efficiently, and also at least slightly delay the gold economy of the yellow player. Bit of raiding still going on, and the militia still alive in green's base on the right side from Pedro, and he's also being helped as before by Eru's scout, but it's pretty much going to be it, as it seems like the defense for the palisades is going quite nicely for Escobar, and on the tree line the number of villagers is just too high to do anything with either the scout or the militia in here. But yeah, this is just going to be one-on-one. The villager should be winning, and you can see that Pedro is exactly recognizing that. And well, with the extra archers right now from Escobar, that's pretty much it for you. And you are going down under the ground. You can see that Pedro is right now ready in with Archer Range and Archer Range 2, so he is basically going for standard Maya shenanigans, as he's also advancing into Castle Age. So that's going to be Crossbowman and then Arbalists in the Imperial Age. And Castle Age is also coming in from Eru and Zirael, so both pockets from both of these teams. And let's check if maybe somebody is slinging in there. No, no. Nobody's slinging, so it's going to be pretty much a fair fight from all of these players in here and not really any kind of extra advantage. Seems like that Pedro is interested in walling himself in on the right side, which is definitely going to be a challenge. Looking how he needs to build all the way up to here. Yeah, that's going to still be a bit of time for him before that happens. And well, in Yellow's base, there's still a bit of a problem with the militias, but not really all that much. As the villages... Oh, careful, sniper. 1 versus 2, that's not going to work for you. But even though the damage from Nike's militias is not really in the lives of the villagers, what is important that rush is basically all about disrupting the economy and the gathering time, and that is exactly succeeding because, yeah, as they were pursuing the Teal guys, they weren't gathering anything. Right now, for a few seconds, they weren't gathering, and that's exactly what snowballs and what is the rush about. And so far it's working quite nicely for the Teal player. So tower finished, so that's basically an end to any kind of raiding for this gold and for this stone, as these are two crucial resources for Sniper. But he is also going to be receiving help from Eru as a Han, and we could be fully expecting that the Teal should be also supplying Han cavalry, but it's going to be of the other kind, and it's going to be the kind with the bows. So cavalry archers coming in from the Teal player, it seems. Areas, you can see that Yellow is still preparing for pretty much the standard in here, and we'll be expecting him to jump into Castlage and Imperial pretty soon, as he is a Mongol. Castlage for Escobar coming in. Bit of a raiding at the bottom, but unfortunately for Yellow, yeah, that's going to take a bit of time. Take down the castle, even though they're not under fire because they're too close. But with the castle right now finished for the Pocket Zero, and nicely covering both the stone and both the gold. Well, should be quite nicely set up with all the Mayan archers, bloomed archers coming up from the castle. And yep, potentially quite tough times for NCs if they cannot somehow handle this. At the last moment, town center being built, so that's exactly what he needed to protect all the villages and whatnot. And that's a pretty big problem for NCs because they were hoping that they can kill something through raiding. But so far that's not going to be all that easy because the extra fire from the town centers is going to be problematic combined with the maneuvering abilities of all the chariot archers. Oh, no chariot archers, cavalry archers. Chariot archers, that's Age of Mythology. But basically the same idea behind them. Archers on the left, trying to pick off what they can, but unfortunately not finding anything. But a bit of raiding in here going on, and oh, this might be actually quite powerful, because it seems like that Eru is doing a pretty good job with microing against all the villages from Mike, and he was able to kill how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But 7 wills, and that's a lot. That's something I did not expect at all, and that's pretty problematic for Knight, because he's dropped to just 30 villages right now, which is by far the least, with Escobar having 34, Zirael 38, and his opponents are having at the same time though double 38 and 44. So the economy is getting out of hand for Slayers, and they need to somehow put their opponents under pressure if they want to succeed. On the right side there's a bit of raiding through the crossbowmen of Pedro that we have seen a bit earlier. Sniper is advancing to castle finally as well. Crossbowman coming in from Escobar so that he's on par with his opponent, and well, he is still having a pretty decent army. Especially those skirmishers are a big problem because of them being the hard counters to all the crossbowmen. You can see that they are just wrecking them. So goodbye this flank, good defense by the green player, and at the top not really all that much happening as blue needs to retreat somewhere else. Okay, this is going to be a bit of an execution it seems, as those crossbowmen are arriving in here. The poor 2 hit point guy. Goodbye. That was quick. And well, this poor gal still working on the wall in here, and still the work not being anywhere close to be done. And unfortunately those double wolfies in here, for her I'm slightly afraid that she might be losing her life in here, in this very heroic attempt at walling the map. Well, moving back to the battlefield on the left, you can see that finally Purple has found his way inside the Teal's base, and together with the cavalry archers is going to be pretty good force for some raiding. as Blunt archers are pretty fast, and well, I'm not even talking about all the cavalry archers and their maneuvering abilities overall. This should be probably resulting into some raiding. I would be thinking that SlayeRs are just a bit too respectful of their opponents right about now, and expecting that, yeah, something bad is coming their way. But you can see that it's not really the truth. There are not really all that many knights, and even though crossbowmen are right now researched, they shouldn't really be a match for the Blunt archers. Well, you can see that there are a bit more upgrades for sniper, but looking at the hit points, 50 hit points for Blunt archers, that's almost a double of the crossbowmen, and this combination together with the cavalry archers who are also 50 health and much bigger attack than their opponents, or much bigger +1 attack, which actually makes a lot of difference in Age of Empires. They should be a bit more aggressive in here, SlayeRs, and they could be putting their opponents under pretty strong pressure. But well, they are waiting for NCs to make the first step, and unfortunately that allow them to send extra reinforcements into the knights, and since there is an open way through... Oh, come on. Careful. As a miscommunication on NC's part. With sniper retreating with the crossbowmen while arrow is engaging, and that could be a pretty good spot for SlayeRs to take advantage of this. We might be having maybe a bit of a pause, but this is an important moment. It's miscommunication on NCs and could be going a long way in somehow improving the position on the map for SlayeRs, which is already pretty good to be honest, even though they might not realize it just yet, as they need to kind of hurry up before the Mongol is boomed. You can see that the Mongol is having 2 TCs so far. It seems so. Yeah, so far just 2 TCs. Be definitely looking for 3 as a Mongol. He needs a pretty strong economy in the Imperial Age and whatnot in there. And otherwise, the Castle Ages 1, 2, 3 town centers for Dread in the pocket, and for Pedro 1, 2, 3 as well. That's pretty much standard, so only Sniper on the left is having a bit of a harder game in here, and yep, it was fortunately just a bit of a pause. 1 town center still for the green player, as he's still not having anything extra. He's going to be facing a bit of a problems in here, as his opponent Pedro has broken through in here and is coming in with pretty strong flank of crossbowmen, but unfortunately for him, I'm thinking he's going to lose pretty strongly because of the skirmishers mixed in into the army, and that was quite misjudged by Pedro. Quite misjudged, and he's losing a lot of units, but if he can run up the hill on the left, which is pretty big, he might be getting a pretty good advantage and even be killing with proper micro the skirmishers in here. But he's giving up on that, going home, and waiting for the reinforcements at the top. Oh yeah. And using the hill for himself. Careful green, you should be running on the hill as well, either at the top or on the left. We are having pretty nice hills in here, but definitely don't fire from below the hill into the top of it. On the left, the battle is right now raging quite strongly. Sniper is doing exactly what Pedro was doing on the right with the hill, which is pretty important and pretty big problem for SlayeRs, because they cannot engage them all that fast and all that easily, as that is allowing quite some extra attack for the yellow dudes, even against the pretty strong ones at the bottom. And they somehow, SlayeRs, need to overperform and outmaneuver their opponents if they want to succeed in the engagement that is surely going to come. They also need to be careful about the knights getting in just too high numbers, as they are still trickling in. Because once they are just too numerous, and God forbid, Edu advances into Imperial Age and goes for his cavaliers together with paladins later on, well, that might be a bit too late to do anything, and finally SlayeRs are recognizing that and going for a bit of raiding, which is exactly what they need to do, because they are having the units for that. Especially the cavalry archers are going to be pretty strong. They don't really need to worry about the tower all that much. Well, let's see, as third town center has been also built by Sniper quite offensively, to be honest, to the forefront. And yep, goodbye release. Your lives are now forfeit. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a micro battle, as a bit of a maneuvering is going on from NCs, and it seems to be working quite nicely, because they have been able to divide the armies of their opponents, and that's That's exactly what they wanted to do, because that's allowing them to basically force SlayeR and Nike as well to retreat, because they don't have really the position to fight against their opponents, which means that they are free for the taken, both for the knights and also for some good shots from the crossbowmen. So quite free losses for SlayeR, and quite nicely played by NCs. And well, they are definitely playing this quite nicely indeed. Removing the wall in here for SlayeR. Careful, careful. As Imperial Ages are coming in for both Pedro and SlayeR. So let's see about that. Both Mayans are advancing into Imperial. And she is still alive and still working. That's one good wall from the houses in here. Well, still some ways to go though. In the meantime, let's check how is it going to be happening. And yep, Pedro is switching into Eagle Warriors. He's going to be switching into Eagle Warriors, which is usually what you see from Mayans once they advance into Imperial Age. When they're going for archers before, that's going to be quite a big problem for the green player, even though he is prepared right now. Or preparing himself with Siege Workshop and Mangonel sees under attack already, and since those crossbowmen are quite nicely prepared in here to deal with any kind of problems like these crossbowmen together with skirmishers. Oh, can we get a good shot into those? Oh no, he could have gotten a pretty good shot. Right now he has just given up the position. That was just open for absolutely brutal wreckage into Pedro, because it didn't seem that Pedro was paying enough attention. He might have just been paying attention in here. But well. Oh, hello. Hello. So at least one spot for the guys in the first in here, and a bit of a problem for Pedro in there. Not much happening on the left, as we are just waiting for some kind of big boom. Iron casting for Arrow and Handcart, as he's just booming. And looking at the economy overall, NCs are having a pretty strong one, as Arrow is having 90, Pedro 94, and Sniper 85 villages, whereas their opponent, the best, is SlayeR at 82, the pocket, whereas Nike is at 61 and Escobar at 70. Well, it's not bad, but of course, it's going to get known as the difference is like a quarter of the villages, and that is something that you will know. And this is, wow, pretty good army. Pretty good army, and that's exactly what I was talking about a bit earlier. Once the knights are in similar, or rather similar sufficient mass, they are going to be quite problematic and very hard to deal with for the archers. And yep, problems coming for the teal and for the purple player. And the hill is still paying dividends quite strongly. Well, we also see a bit of a switch into the middle, with the SlayeR also going for the Eagle Warrior, so basically the same strategy with another castle being dropped to protect both the stone and the gold in here, and well, basically the same strategy in here really from both of these Mayans, and a bit of a raiding going to be happening to the economy of their opponents. So you will be finding a bit of a stone release, maybe even gold and food farms in here on the left, whereas on the right side the blue is already having a pretty decent amount of units in here. They're doing a pretty good job, as it seems like that he has been able to kill all the army from his opponent, but unfortunately he will be facing exactly the castle, which is a pretty good reaction from the green player, as he's also trying to finish with the wall in here. So far quite nicely played, but unfortunately for the blue player, or rather for the green player, it seems like that the tide is not going to be stopped all that easily, and he's going to be ravaging the economy as much as he can. Quite soon indeed. Those dudes are definitely MVPs, repairing it as much as they can, but since the second house is going to be taken down and the archers are getting rid of all the repairers, well, good luck with that. So they have reached without any kind of opposition really, and we also need to have a look at the top, where there's a bit of a raiding going on by SlayeR, as we have seen a bit earlier through the Eagle Warriors, but unfortunately for him, he is quite nicely countered by Arrow, who is also going for fletching, as he's preparing, not exactly sure for what, as he is having a lot of stables of course, So he is preparing for for paladins later on, not exactly sure, but well, it's going to be working for him as well, for example, for some extra damage somewhere else. In the meantime, as he is quite nicely booming overall. So, Bremen and Gunter at the bottom, and oh, just missing each other. Just missing each other, but unfortunately for Nike, oh no, he is retreating back just through them. That's a lot of extra free damage for the red, of course. As Imperial Ages are also coming in from Sniper and Escobar. So, two Mongols preparing for the shenanigans with Mangudais in there. Second flank from Nike coming back with some extra reinforcements of Eagle Warriors from Ziral. And where is Yellow? He was having absolutely everything at home, trying to defend against Raiden. That was happening with the Eagle Warriors, but right now he is quite prepared with all the crossbowmen and the Mangudais all ready to go somewhere into the middle, I think. And maybe together with Eru, he will be just joining in there and hoping that he can kill either the one on the left, the guy on the left, or maybe even just into the pocket, which might not be a bad idea overall, because he is quite nicely boomed and whatnot. At the same time though, on the right side it seems pretty dire for the Mongol from SlayeR, as Escobar is getting handled quite roughly by Pedro. And it doesn't seem like that Pedro is going to be giving up on anything like this, going for Blast Furnace, so that his Eagle Warriors are having a much better attack in here, and a lot of upgrades right now trickling from Sniper, Parthian Tactics, Heavy Blow, Elite Mangudais and Bracers. And these Elite Mangudais, oh well, that's going to be exactly what will be turning the battle around on the left side, I'm fully certain of it. You can see that Pedro is owning his opponent quite strongly, basically killing his whole economy. I don't really see any villages at all right now from green, just a few of them at the top right now. And on the left, unfortunately dying. And even though they have been able to finish with the wall on the left, unfortunately there's a way through above the university, which means that Pedro can do absolutely anything with him and doesn't need to worry about anything at all. Escobar down to just 47 villages with 45 right now being idle. Unfortunately, so he's pretty much out of the game for him, and well, Pedro is definitely the master of the green base. On the left side though, there is a pretty big engagement from a few Eagle Warriors from blue, so it seems like Pedro is also joining on the left, but yeah, it's not really enough with the Knights from Eru, as the Cavalry Archers together with the Eagle Warriors from Zirael himself are quite enough to get rid of all of this, and yeah, a bit more extra help from the yellow will be needed. So far he's just going to the left, and this is going to be dropping a castle. Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's what Mongols do, as they need all the castles that they can get to produce the Mangudais and also to control the map, of course. And right now this is just making sure that this hill is not going to be falling under enemy hands. With how half dead all those guys on the deal are right now in here, that's probably going to be resulting exactly into GG's, and we see that NCs are taking the second game as well, but this was quite nicely played by SlayeR, and maybe, just maybe, if they weren't all that passive at the beginning, but they definitely had a pretty good opportunity against their opponents, at least for some decent raiding, maybe even Pocket, or at least on Sniper, who wasn't having all that easy game. Maybe the game could have gone a bit differently, but on the right side, yeah, Pedro was simply better. And in basically the 1v1, and well, you can see that the villager has actually quite nicely finished with the walling and continue with the trading in here. There wasn't much that they could have done in here. Well, nicely played, and he was also already going full on to the purple guy. So let's check the post game. Check the post game as Pedro is winning. Well, that would have expected. But the score from Zirael is also not half bad, as he wasn't playing half bad in the pocket as a Mayan. Quite similar play to Pedro. Well then, GG.